I'm not even lying. Manchester United are being linked to Liam Delap again. Apparently, Chelsea want to sell him on already after one season, and Manchester United are still interested because Jason Wilcox loves him. And I tell you what, they got Delap for 30 million. If they somehow make a profit and we end up buying Delap for 40, 50 million this summer, I will lose my mind. I don't think we will do that. He's not very good. We're going to talk about why United need UCL, how that changes the summer plan, and is Garnacho regretting the way he acted? Because like Delap, there's many reports saying that Chelsea are ready to cash in on Garnacho in the summer. We're going to talk about the latest on that. He's getting some humble pie. We're going to talk about why the players. Woo, we're going to talk about why the players like Carrick more than Amorim, according to reports. Mainoo close to signing a new contract. Endrick wanted news is coming out. Apparently, we're looking at Endrick and have interest in Endrick, and obviously update on Rashford and his departure to Barcelona. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news, and update roundup show, where I'm going to round up all the latest Manchester United news into a 10-minute video for you guys. Let's start with this first story on Liam Delap, which luckily has come out from Court Offside, who I don't see as a top tier source of information. So I can kind of read the story and relax. Liam Delap could already be leading Chelsea. Now, that part of the story has been said by reliable outlets that Chelsea could cash in on Delap and Garnacho as soon as this summer. And Manchester United remain interested after trying to sign them last summer. Now, Court Offside is the one source saying that we're still interested in Delap. And what we do know is this. Amorim's number one target was Gyökeres. Jason Wilcox's number one target was Delap. Vival's number one target was Sesko. That was it. Apparently, we did like Ekatike as well. But they were the three. And Wilcox really liked Liam Delap. Delap said no to us because Chelsea are in the Champions League. So that's probably the one positive of us not winning Europa League is maybe Delap would have said yes to us had we won the Europa League and been in the Champions League. Now Delap's been crap for Chelsea. Of course he's had injuries. Of course he's had a lot of cards. I guess you could say the cards and the booking's his fault. I think he's had 2 red cards since joining Chelsea. But he just reminds me of Højlund. Now, I thought last season in the Premier League, Delap for Ipswich was a lot better than Højlund for Man United. But maybe it's because at Ipswich he got a bit more space as well. At Chelsea, he's struggling. I think he's young. I think he's only 22, 23, so he could become a good player. And I think it's too early to write Delap off and say he will never be good enough. Delap maybe in 2 years' time might be one of the best strikers out there. And we might be saying, I wish we got him. But right now, I look at Delap. I don't think he's better than Sesko. I don't think he's good enough. And I'm kind of glad we didn't get him. I always said in the summer when we're linked to Delap, I said, if we get Delap, Cunha and Mbeumo, I'm okay with it. But if we got Delap and Dibbling, I'd be fuming. We were linked to Liam Delap and Dibbling. I said, these are 2 young players that we don't know are good enough that have played in the Prem. I want Prem proven. I want Mbeumo, I want Cunha, I want Semenyo. I said, if, getting Mbeumo and Cunha means we can't afford Gyökeres and we get Delap, I said, I'm okay with it. If getting Mbeumo, but I said we want to get Mbeumo and Cunha and see what happens to striker. But tell you what, I'm glad we didn't get Delap. He wasn't someone I really wanted in the first place, but he would have been someone I was okay with if we got 2 top Prem proven attackers like we did. But I'm really glad that we got Sesko now because I just don't think he's good enough. But look, again, he's only 23 Delap, so he could be soon. Now, that was probably the one positive in not getting Champions League football last year is we missed out on players like Delap. But there will be a lot more negatives if we don't get Champions League this year because that will be 3 seasons without UCL football and it will really start to impact our budget. Chris Wheeler said United's summer transfer budget will be dramatically different, depending on whether they qualify for the UCL. They're essentially planned with 2 separate budgets. One if we have UCL football, one if we don't have UCL football. Without top 4 5 finish, they might not even be able to afford the wage demands of someone like Elliot Anderson. I think we could afford the wage demands if they're reasonable, but I just think we would have no chance of getting him over City if we don't have Champions League football. The situation with Champions League football is basically we have about 100 million more if we're in the Champions League, which gives us a lot more to spend. And he can offer Elliot Anderson more money, and if we didn't get the Champions League the following year, that money that we offered him would reduce by 25%. Yeah, I think with Manchester United, I think if we get top 5, we'll have 100 million more to spend, but then all the players' wages go up, so probably around 70 million more to spend. It makes us stronger in the summer, and I think it's really important that we do get Champions League football because Elliot Anderson would be my dream signing, but I just feel like he's going to go to City. Now let's talk about Alejandro Garnacho. So more reports are coming out saying that Garnacho is more likely to leave Chelsea. There's been about 3 or 4 outlets that are saying Chelsea willing to let go of him in the summer. Garnacho is more likely to leave Chelsea. La 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 la. Look, I don't know if this is true. I don't know how reliable this is, but there's been a lot of talk about it from many different people, and it's now coming out today that Alejandro Garnacho is increasingly expected to leave Chelsea in the summer as uncertainty grows over his long-term role at the club. Despite arriving with high expectations, his situation could change at the end of the season, with a departure now looking like a real possibility. Arsenal and Newcastle have been understood to be monitoring developments closely. I think it would be hilarious if he went to Arsenal. But yeah, there's a lot of talk that Garnacho will leave Chelsea in the summer. Chelsea already want to cash in on like Garnacho, Giddens, Delap already. Maybe Chelsea have realised that if you just keep signing loads of young players and no experience, that maybe with the Premier League being difficult, you need some experienced attackers. Who knows? Like João Pedro's most experienced attacker they signed, and he's levels ahead of the rest of them. But I think looking at this, Garnacho must really regret his actions at Man United now. Garnacho acted out because every now and then he was on the bench for United. Garnacho played so many minutes for Manchester United, started nearly every game, played 90 minutes so often for Man United, was very rarely on the bench. And the 1 or 2 occasions he was on the bench, he acted out. He wasn't on the bench very often, Garnacho, and he was fed up of being on the bench, and he acts out and he demands a move. And he's been on the bench at Chelsea way more than he was ever on the bench at United. Last season, Garnacho had played, I think, 3,600 minutes. This season, he's only played, I'm already halfway through, 1,300 minutes for Chelsea or something like that. Unless he plays nearly every minute of every game, he's not going to play more minutes this season than last season. In fact, he's going to play a lot less minutes this season than last season. Garnacho acted out because he didn't want to be in the bench. And he wanted to force a move because he didn't like that the manager was benching him, just to go to Chelsea and be benched. He rejects every club for Chelsea. And he's there and he's benched a lot for Chelsea. And when he does start, he gets hooked at half time. When he started for Man United and it was bad, he got hooked in the 70th minute, not half time. I feel like the way that Garnacho forced his move out of United and how disrespectful he was when we gave him so many chances, I think he must be sitting there regretting it, thinking, well, damn, I'm not getting any more minutes at Chelsea. I'm on the bench even more at Chelsea. Look, don't get me wrong, if he stayed, he would have been on the bench pretty much all season because we've got Cunha and Mbumo. But he must definitely be sitting there regretting, maybe not so much regretting leaving, but regretting how he left, because he was complaining of his lack of minutes. Now, I want to talk about a few things. I want to talk about Chris Wheeler talking about Carrick. I want to talk about the Mainoo situation. I want to talk about the Endrick news. And if we have time, we'll talk about Rashford Barcelona news. But Chris Wheeler went on the United Stand YouTube channel today, and he was talking about Amorim and Carrick and, kind of why maybe the players could be responding better than to Carrick. And I think obviously a big part of that is just Carrick gets the club. He's worked with Sir Alex. He's worked with Mourinho. But one of the interesting things that Chris Wheeler said was that everything felt like hard work under Amorim. He said Michael Carrick had come in and been the complete opposite. He's been calm, composed, keeps his word to a minimum, and just shows what the United way looks like. Under Amorim, everything seemed like a long way off and still a work in progress. One thing we know is that Carrick's kind of come in, said what he wants to do, said how he wants to play the shorter, more intense sessions, whereas Amorim's sort of sessions were seen as longer, more robotic, doing the same thing over and over again, and the players not really knowing what it was that Amorim wanted. And I do think that Michael Carrick, knowing the club, wanting to win games, wanting to score goals, whereas Ruben Amorim was very happy with a draw, and Ruben Amorim was obsessed with his system and doing it this way and this way, whereas Michael Carrick is more changing things up. I think it is naturally going to get the players more on side, which does not shock me. But anyway, let's talk about the latest news on Kobbie Mainoo. Chris Wheeler said that Manchester United and Mainoo are still negotiating a new contract with both sides keen, and a new deal was now likely. Mainoo's played nearly every minute under Carrick. He's done very well under Carrick. I'm sure the next manager that comes in is going to have Mainoo as a vital part of their plans. I think now Mainoo is playing again. I think he will sign a new deal. I think that will all be sorted soon. One other story I want to talk about is on Endrick. Now, I would take this with a pinch of salt because it's for Chase, and I don't think for Chase is reliable in the slightest. But I'd rather Endrick than Delap. I say that. He's actually doing a lot better at Lyon. And it was that Manchester United now leading the race for Endrick. United are reportedly planning a sporting offer that guarantees playing time. I mean, I think Endrick's a good player and would get playing time, but Mbumo can play through the middle, Sesko can play through the middle, Cunha can play through the middle, Xerxes can play through the middle. Look, if Man United go for Endrick, I'm not going to be mad about it as long as we don't pay ridiculous money for him. But I think we need a left winger, I think we need a left back, and I think we need 3 midfielders more than anything else in the summer. And I think the Endrick link is probably just kind of made up and an excuse to try and get clicks. And last but not least, Romano said this: Barcelona want to keep Marcus Rashford beyond the season and planning to negotiate and reduce the 30 million buy option from United. Man United insist that Rashford's price is fixed. You got Rashford on loan and you agreed to a 30 million euro buy option. Rashford has gone on loan, he's done really well, but now you want to lower that buy option. You got a player on loan, he's done well. There's a buy option that you agreed to before the loan. Player does well, you want that buy option to be lower. If Rashford was playing badly but you wanted to keep him, you lower the buy option. Rashford's playing well, you pay the buy option. You agreed to that buy option beforehand. 26 million for Rashford is easy. If you're not going to pay 26 million for Rashford, F off, because we could probably get 40 from another club. Thank you for watching today's 10-minute roundup. See you next time. Bye.